With the rerun of the Microlayer Medley, we will have 2 new ships and 7 returning ships. Hello and welcome. This is Neldrin, and today, let's discuss what are the things to know in this event. But before that, if this is not the first time you hear my obviously robot voice, and not yet subscribed, this is the sign you are waiting for, to slap that subscribe button. Microlayer Medley is one of my favorite events from last year. I can't shit about anyone because their designs are all great. They also released a series of skins, which led the Philippines to reach the highest recorded heat index, a few weeks after the event concluded. This event will run from August 19th to September 1st. If this is your first event, prioritize building in the event pool for the rated up ships. Play the event stages for event points, which will be used to buy items in the shop, which I'll discuss later. And take this opportunity to play for event stages. The humanoid enemies give more XP points compared to the main stage maps. For experienced commanders here, either this is your first or second time participating in this event, I suggest farming for points in exchange for PR blueprints. And as usual, you can skip A and B stages and speed run C and D stages to unlock SP immediately for the 800 points daily. Each map is restricted with tile movement until you clear it. There are also sirens that will move around the map. There will also be enemy submarines. If your ships are over-leveled against the map, no need to bring ASW gears, since they can tolerate the damage. But if the levels are relatively close, I advise you to bring destroyers with depth charges. Any rarity or gear will do. And no need to bring sonar, because destroyers and light cruisers can automatically detect submarines. Let's discuss the new entries, then the returning ships. First we got Ingraham. She's a destroyer that provides good utility. Her red skill can shield and heal. The heal is not extremely strong compared to other healers, but it provides decent sustain for your mob fleet. Lastly, it provides a decent AA buff to your vanguard. Her blue skill provides AA buff to herself based on her torpedo stats. She also got good sustain. Take note, her torpedo is average, and her HP is quite high for destroyer standards. Her AA, together with the buff, are above average, even for light cruiser standards. I think she's strong, given that her defensive skills are backed by good stats. I'm excited to test her out on later stages, to see how good it is on autoplay. Next is Nautilus. She's a submarine with a unique gimmick. She will fire 2 separate barrages at the start. Since I just recently got her, and I don't see anyone showing her barrage at level 10, I can't really say at the moment if she's good or not. Her yellow skill is kinda weak in my opinion. Although the application of the skill is guaranteed, because she resurfaces every time you summon her. Knowing that she's the same rarity as Helena, the 8% is way too low. Before we continue, this guide is incomplete without our question of the day. Who's your favorite ship in this event? Well, I'm sure you already predicted my answer if you're watching my previous videos. But I also have another favorite in this event which I'll mention later. Now for the returning ships. First we got Intrepid. She's another Essex-class carrier. My robot voice can't really do justice to how hype I was when I first saw her visual design. I mean, just look at her pose and riggings. Plus those damn lightning. Also, she's hot. Stat-wise, she's close to Essex. Her red skill lets her launch a guaranteed additional Helldivers, which also inflicts armor break. This is great if you will pair her with battleships. Her armor break can stack with NJ. If you will be fighting a battleship boss, their combo is nice to have. Her blue skill is somehow mediocre, but it's helpful if she's taking a lot of damage. Her yellow skill will give her different buffs depending on the number of her battles. The defensive buff, paired with her blue skill, is actually good, especially at later stages. Unlike early chapters where your backline only takes a few hits, at later stages, you will get a lot of anxiety. I mean damage to your backline. Because of this, you can plan your attacks when engaging larger enemies. I think Intrepid is best suited in the mob fleet, because she has good defense and her special barrage or dive bombers, which are better at clearing mobs than in boss fights.
I am Groot!
I am Steve Rogers.
I am Reno!
Next is Reno. Initially, she's underwhelming in her release, but when she got minor buff during the OPSI patch, I now consider her as one of the holy trinity of anti-air. Also, she's hot. Her red skill will have damage buff against destroyers and light cruisers, depending on the number of carriers in your fleet, together with her. This also makes her take reduced damage from enemy carriers for the first 4 battles.
一日中でもやってやる!
Her yellow skill gives AA and firepower buff. When your back line receives damage, she will have additional buffs. Because of her solid anti-air, she's built for later stages of the main campaign maps. I highly advise you to use her. Bremerton is a heavy cruiser that specializes also in anti-air. But before that, her red skill not only buffs her main gun damage, but also fires a special barrage.
Holy hell!
Depending where you place her, her blue skill will give you different buffs. If you place her at the leftmost position, she will have reduced damage taken for the first 30 seconds. If placed in the middle or rightmost position, she will gain anti-air buffs for the entire battle. As you can see, her AA is average. But with the buff from this skill, she will have the second highest anti-air among the heavy cruisers, next to the Cat. You can use her as a tank in early to mid stages of the main campaign, or if you will use her for quick battles. Once her defense wears off, she won't last long enough compared to other tanks. Once you reach 12 and 13, I highly suggest utilizing her anti-air.
Oh my god, this is so hot! This is so hot!
Next, and my favorite in this event, is Casablanca. She's the OG wing woman, before independence ended her career. With that being said, I still think Casablanca is a solid choice, because farming core data is very limited, especially if you are just starting out. Unless we will have a core data event, which means buying independence for the first time will take a while. And Casablanca will be your best girl, I mean light carrier for the meantime. She's also good for quick battles if you will lucky enough to trigger her red skill. Also, she's hot. Next is Cooper. She's a destroyer and specializes in detecting submarines. Because of the update that destroyers and light cruisers can now passively detect submarines, I don't think that she will be useful. So more or less, she's just a collectible ship. Also, her skin is hot. Marblehead is also a collectible ship here. If you are a fan of Gyaro, she's one of them. Nothing special about her, except that she's based on an adult manga with a good story. Also, she's hot. And lastly, Bluegill. She's also a collectible ship in my opinion, since she doesn't offer much, compared to the German and other American subs. If you don't own any of the said submarines, then it's fine to use her for a while. Then replace her once you have access to a stronger option. Also, she's tanned. For the event shop, reserve your points for Bremerton and Casablanca, if you will farm on their map, which I will discuss later. Buy them only after the event, if you don't have enough luck to get them. Prioritize buying the blueprints because PR development is a tedious task, especially if you are a casual player. TBM Avenger is another item you want to prioritize, because it is a great torpedo bomber, while farming for the materials of better planes. The PBY Catalina is needed by Cooper to activate her skill. However, the skill is not strong. Even the ship, as mentioned earlier, is not also strong. But if you are like me, who bought one last year, expecting that she will be useful, probably, just do it for the meme. For beginners, I highly advise you to prioritize buying the gearboxes, because it will speed up your early game progress. Only buy the oils and coins when necessary. And the remaining points will go to anything that you need. For beginners, I highly advise farming A3 because the fastest gun is here. Cleveland, Portland and Juneau are also obtainable here. Both Cleveland and Portland are strong beginner ships. Juneau, on the other hand, is one of the best PvP ship to have. If you have difficulty completing A3, A2 will do, until you get London. She's also a strong ship for beginners. B2 and B3 to farm for the event ships. B2 for the Helldiver and Ark Royal. For the B3, it is the highest event points for easy event stages. Unicorn and Saratoga are farmable here. Now for the hard stages. Contrary to most of my guides, where D3 is always the best map, in this event, it's somehow different. To make more sense, let's check the D maps first. If this is your first time in this event, farm D2 and D3 for a chance to get the event ships while earning some points. D2 also has Helldivers and Ark Royal. Now if this is your second time in this event, or you already got your event ships from D2 and D3, next thing you need to do is to check your submarine torpedo. If you already have numerous copies of Bitter or its material, then you can do other things after you earn enough points for the PR blueprints. But if you don't have any of the said torpedoes, then farm C3 for G7A or the blue torpedo. G7A is used to create the G7E homing torpedo in the Gear Lab, which is the best torpedo if you don't have Bitter. The blue torpedo deals great damage. However, it is not homing, so I'm not a fan of it. I highly advise you to farm the torpedo to have investment on your late game. Submarines, even though rarely discussed in my channel, are actually helpful on late game content, especially when you need that extra damage. If you are only farming for event points, I suggest farming D3 if you are in a rush. Or if you are taking your time, C2 will do, for that extra repair toolkit you can have. But to summarize, take note of the enemy submarines in this event, especially if you don't have over-level ships. There are great ships in this event, and 2 of them are farmable in the event stages, or can be bought in the event shop. Buy important items in the event shop. You can also farm for torpedo materials, if you already own most of the event contents. I hope that this guide helped you in making your game plan for this event. If I missed something or there's something you wanted to share, feel free to comment it down below. And don't forget to subscribe and share this video to support my channel. You guys are awesome, and see you next time.